Cy-Gor origins. Murderous guerrilla cyborg hides the morality of a soldier, explored in detail. Who would have thought that a character which was primarily created by Todd McFarlane for his toy collection would eventually end up getting introduced in the 38th issue of Spawn? Well, let's be clear on one thing. The character of Cy-Gor was not just introduced, the issue also marked his origin story. So who exactly is this human-gorilla hybrid? Well, to begin with, Michael Konieczni was Al Simmons' friend and also teammate back when the latter was working as a CIA operative. Shortly after the murder of Al Simmons, Michael had his own plans of exposing Jason Wynn, the director of the United States Security Group. But before he could execute his actions, Michael was detained on purpose and forced to take part in Project Sim. The following piece of information goes out to both the fans of the Spawn universe and also to those who aren't that familiar with Spawn's world. The USSG, as in short for United States Security Group, was also responsible for creating certain programs that were related to biological warfare and genetics. Therefore, it should not come as a surprise to you that Project Sim was one, for example. In other words, it was the program that created Cy-Gor in the first place. Putting further stress on the program, Project Sim was headed by neurologist specialist Dr. Frederick Wilhelm, who in private was working on a way towards saving the life of his wife, Anna Wilhelm. Anna was apparently suffering from some kind of neurological disorder and had already gone through multiple miscarriages. Dr. Wilhelm wanted to save Anna using brain transplants, and post-discovering that brain transplants were doable, he began the research on transferring human brain patterns into an ape, keeping a ratio of 80/20. But called a mathematical accident while programming, the neurologist ended up creating a monster, Cy-Gor, short for cybernetic gorilla, which started out only at 80% gorilla instead of 80% human. In today's video, we're going to talk about the origins of this murderous gorilla cyborg and also explore in detail the issues where he has made appearances. You better be ready for this one.
Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
Murderous Guerrilla Cyborg, Cy-Gor Origins Explained. Boasting a story by Todd McFarlane and Julius Simmons, Mind Games begins with a mysterious man making his way towards a remote mansion. He is stopped at the gates by the guard who demands to see his ID before he lets him in. Upon seeing the visitor's card is expired, he tells him to come back the next day with proper documentation. The mysterious man is next seen breaking the neck of the guard before he breaks into the mansion. We get to know the name of the mysterious man, Chris, who is beyond disgusted to see the filthy condition of the house. There's litter and dust everywhere. Somehow he makes past the decrepit machines that are lying there. As he gets to hear a sudden noise, Chris takes out his gun from his holster and starts walking towards the room. The man sighs in relief to find no one in the room. In fact, the static noise was coming from the television inside. The readers now get a somewhat clearer picture about Chris. He was apparently looking for files on the unfurnished Cy-Gor project. He had strict orders about what he was expected to find. As he rummages through the tapes, each labeled Anna with the year next to the name, he discovers that one of the tapes is already inside the VCR ready to be played. As he clicks the button, the room goes dark. Somewhere else, Spawn is seen scavenging through heaps of debris. He is looking for something that will bring security, vengeance, and peace, of course. He's eventually seen recovering his weapons from the exact place where he had last left them. There are no second thoughts about the fact that Spawn is planning something big for Wynn. He addresses him as a slimy pig and wishes Wynn to recover soon so that he could blow his head off. As he starts checking his weapons to see that everything is in order, he is met by Cagliostro, who tells him that he has no idea who his real enemy is. Back at the mansion, Chris chances upon Dr. Frederick Wilhelm's last recorded message. The doctor states how he has worked as a frontline medic in exchange for training as a physician at the time when war broke out in Europe. It was during his 4th year of service when he met Anna, the woman of his dreams. He gives her full credit for him not losing his sanity, especially at the constant sight of people around him dying because of the war. The readers, along with Chris, learn that the doctor married Anna after a year. The relentless war came to a halt too, but things weren't looking too bright for Anna. By then, she had gone through 2 miscarriages as a result of some unknown neurological disorder. Her health was rapidly deteriorating, and there was nothing that Dr. Wilhelm could apparently do at the moment. But as a neurologist, the doctor stopped at nothing, especially when it came down to saving her life. Very soon, the US Army got a whiff of the doctor's research, and they eventually ended up inviting him to lead their cybernetic simian project. Or in other words, the doctor was forced to accept their offer and also move to the States. In due course, their demands for instant results affected the life of Anna, especially her recovery. Initially, she slipped into a coma and eventually passed away one morning. Of course, the doctor was devastated, and he was more than determined to bring her back to life. He started speeding up his experiments. After striving for years to implant humans with multiple bionic parts, the researchers finally came to a conclusion that the human mind just couldn't endure the pain of their implants, and therefore another vessel was required to carry things ahead. That's how the simian was selected in the first place, thanks to its neurological similarities with human beings. Dr. Wilhelm was in charge of merging the cybernetics with the gorilla, and thus he began his research to transfer human brain patterns into the ape with a calculated percentage of 80/20 human to ape ratio. Not only did he personally oversee the creation of Cy-Gor, but he also did this to bring Anna back to life. Placing a mind into a new body, that's how he wanted to bring his wife back. So when Cy-Gor moved his own free will without any cybernetic enhancements, Dr. Wilhelm knew that the right time has come for him to experiment on Anna. But unfortunately, the doctor, he suffered a stroke, something that left him physically incapable. The readers are next taken back to the scene where Spawn's seen having a heated discussion with Konieczni. Spawn is bent on taking his revenge. He tells Cog about the freak and how he wants him to deal with his maker in the first place. Wynn tops his target list, followed by Terry Fitzgerald for taking away Wanda from his life and siding with Wynn. Konieczni warns Spawn that killing Wynn is futile, as he happens to be a tiny piece of a much bigger puzzle. He also tells Spawn to not act like a puppet and start thinking like a free man. As for Chris, he decides not to go back empty-handed, but he is absolutely horrified to find the half-decomposed body of Anna, who is seen sitting with fluids flowing to her brain that's kept in some kind of a jar. A petrified Chris attempts to leave the mansion only to run into Cy-Gor, who devours him in seconds. It had been 3 weeks and Cy-Gor was inevitably hungry for some fresh meat. The issue ends with Spawn paying a visit to his grandmother, Rosemary Blake, who tells him how scared Wanda was to have met a demon the other day. Boasting a story by Todd McFarlane, The Beast begins with Spawn communicating with Terry Fitzgerald regarding Major Forsberg. He tells Fitzgerald that he was successful in bringing Major Forsberg back to Rat City. The readers get to know how Forsberg was in solitary confinement with a foreign prison owned by Jason Wynn for years. It is clear that Terry thinks Forsberg is pretty valuable in taking down Jason Wynn, so he tells Spawn to keep a check on the Major, especially his mental health, and keep him warm and alive to extract information out of him regarding Wynn. With Wanda returning home, Fitzgerald cuts short the conversation and hangs up abruptly. Spawn takes a closer look at Forsberg. He seems like a child in a man's body. Who would have thought that Forsberg was such a brilliant military strategist once upon a time? Spawn himself witnessed things that he was working for Wynn. Suddenly, the worm Spawn makes use of the regenerate burst out of the box and comes towards him. Cy-Gor makes a surprise attack, bursts out from behind and grabs Spawn. As for Forsberg, he huddles in the background and watches an intense battle taking place right in front of his eyes. Post-summoning the creatures of darkness, such as worms and bats, Spawn unleashes them to Cy-Gor. They suffocate the beast and drives him into a frustrated frenzy, eventually causing him to pass out, but not before murmuring his own name, Cy-Gor. The name enkindles a reaction in Forsberg, and unexpectedly he starts talking reasonably. A lot of it actually makes sense, too much to the surprise of Spawn. Forsberg tells Spawn all about how the military wanted to build the perfect killing machine. He further divulges information on how Wynn had sent an operative, someone he thinks was called Simmons, to hack into the data, but he died under mysterious yet suspicious circumstances. He also tells Spawn about a man named Konieczni who apparently wanted to blow the whistle on Wynn, but was unsuccessful, and he was made to be a guinea pig for the cybernetic simian project. It was Konieczni who became Cy-Gor. Later, with Cy-Gor rebooting, he had one operative, and that was to track down his creator and destroy him, Simmons, in case you guys were wondering. Meanwhile, Wanda was more than agitated at Terry post-discovering his spy equipment. She's fumed that Terry actually held back information from her, all this while she was literally aiding him, frantically looking for clues so as to lead Terry somewhere to bring down Wynn. As much as Wanda wishes to support Terry, but she is equally scared of Wynn. She knows how powerful he is and the fact that Wynn knows that they have a child. It would only be a matter of a second for Wynn to destroy them if he comes to know what they have been up to. What makes Cy-Gor so dangerous? Well, to begin with, Cy-Gor boasts of powers such as cybernetic enhancement, superhuman agility, senses, sight as well as speed. Then there's mechanokinesis, which means that Cy-Gor is also capable of removing his own self-destruct and tracking devices so that the rest cannot detect his location. Too smart for a gorilla, right? But well, he is a cyborg, let's not disregard that. Anyways, next comes accelerated healing, which means that he's able to both repair his wounds as well as run self-diagnostics. Other abilities state how Cy-Gor is cybernetically able to enhance others, Gregor, the small monkey for instance.
And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.